Has anybody done less than Quinn Cook to win rings? Well, maybe Patrick McCaw. Nah, man. I thought it was fitting. There was a rumor or some social media stuff going on last night that after the celebration at the arena, they left Quinn behind and he had to walk back to the hotel room. Maybe it was a gag, maybe it wasn't. It felt right? It sounded right. He's at waist height. They forgot him, and he's complaining he got to walk back after winning a championship. Did you win a championship, Quinn? After he was done pretending to be best friends with everybody in attendance? Have you noticed that? Anyway, that's not what this is about. I just looking at this Lakers roster, it dawned on me, like, has there ever been a championship team with more bottom feeders, less deserving of a ring, right? You've got the before mentioned Quinn Cook, Jared Dudley, Dion Waiters, J.R. Smith, and then shame on Giannis's brother for flexing on his brother with the trophy. Now, I know JaVale encouraged it, but come on, man. Come on. Like, you have to. Anyway, it was just funny, man. It was funny to watch the ring ceremony or the trophy ceremony and the celebrations. You know what it kind of reminded me of? As a kid, have you ever been to like a birthday party where a bunch of kids showed up that weren't really invited, like friends of friends, right? Where like the kid whose birthday it was didn't even really know the kids, but somehow they were like front and center eating the cake and like right there when the gifts were being opened. That's what it reminded me of with JR and Waiters kissing the trophy and Dudley. I mean, man, you want to talk about some undeserving mofos on the end of that bench. But Laker Nation, y'all got it done, man. Congratulations, Laker Nation. So let's rank bronze rings like the title suggests or the thumbnail. I don't know. I haven't even made it yet. Now, this is with the context that this is my rankings. Y'all can put your rankings in the comments. Go ahead and do that. I'm sure a lot of you are going to disagree. Number one, his most impressive and important championship was 2016, down 3-1, taking out one of the greatest teams the league has ever seen. Now, Warrior fans, I know Draymond got suspended. Kyrie hit the big shot. I know there's context to all of these, but to me, that's his greatest achievement. That's number one, the 2016 championship, not to mention bringing a championship to Cleveland. There was just so many factors to that, regardless of how it went down. Number two is his first championship in Miami and his first ever championship, the 2012 chip against the young Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, the Thunder were probably not the opponent that the Spurs were in those other matchups, right? Because they were so young. It was their first time on that stage. But when you take the context of that entire season, the year before he had collapsed in the finals against the Mavericks. And, there was talk of removing the recently placed crown on his head, right? And he had choked, and the pressure that Heat team had put on itself with the showing of when they announced everything that went along with that Heat team and how he became a villain all of a sudden. I thought everything that the Heat did to put added pressure on themselves and again, turning villain, right? Turning heel LeBron. I don't think he liked that. And so the context behind that first chip for him in Miami, that to me is number two on his rings list. Number three brings me to last night, the bubble. The Lakers championship. And we're going to hear arguments this week, and we've heard it about how this bubble doesn't count and it was weak, blah, 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 blah. A lot of people, I don't want to hear it, man. Look, here's the reality of the situation. The bubble took away a lot of LeBron's advantages. The crowd, right? All of a sudden, Donovan Mitchell, Jamal Murray, this isn't a shot at those cats. They've got better, right? But you saw epic performances from young players, inexperienced players, the Heat, Tyler Hero, right? They didn't have to deal with the media or the crowds. That was an advantage LeBron had because he's so used to it. He almost welcomes that, right? No home court for the Lakers that they fought for all season long. every other day games. There wasn't the usual rest between games. That doesn't help a 35-year-old LeBron out, right? And then I just got done talking about how many bums were on the end of that bench that probably shouldn't be getting one of these rings. So when you add that all together, I think that, I think this was a legit chip. Lakers fans, celebrate, have fun with it. Now, it felt a little bit sedated. I don't know how much, only LeBron can tell you which ones meant the most to him. And I guarantee you it was the 16, right? It has to be. But even the celebration felt a little sedated because there wasn't a crowd. They weren't in LA. Imagine in South Beach, right? LeBron celebrating on that Heat floor. Riley might have had a sniper out there. But anyway, those are my rankings. Number 1, 2016. Number 2, 2012, the first one in Miami. Number 3, last night's in the bubble. And number 4, the last one I didn't even bring up, right? I forgot to label it, but I think it's obvious, right? It goes without saying. It's the one against San Antonio. What year was that? The Ray shot, right? It was the Spurs one where they barely got by and they should have won. They were the favorites. And a lot of people, felt a type of way about that one. So that one I think is the least impressive of the 4. The man got 4. He got 4, right? Let's talk about the celebration and the MVP speech. Of course, LeBron getting Finals MVP. And again, I had already brought up, it was a different environment, right? There was no crowd. It was different. It was very different. I thought LeBron during his speech was relatively humble for his standards, right? The crazy thing here that he had brought up that I didn't realize, something that bronsexuals haven't really used enough in their arguments when you want to rank him and stuff like that, is the fact that he has never missed a playoff game. That's nuts, man. Like, we're not talking about Robert Horry here or Kyle Korver, right? We're not talking about like a shooter. What LeBron's asked to do every game and in every series, and the amount of playoff games he's played and he hasn't missed one, that to me is one of his more impressive stats. And so, like I said, I thought he was pretty humble up until he gave up the stage to Anthony Davis. And, this duo, it works. It works. And I think it was a microcosm in the celebration of why it works, right? Because you notice that LeBron, he basically said, I put AD here. This is why I brought him here, and this is why I wanted to get him on this stage. I did this in a very LeBron fashion. And LeBron and AD standing over to his side didn't bother AD one bit. And then Rachel Nichols calls Anthony Davis to the podium, to the microphone, and LeBron falls back with his trophies, right? And LeBron proceeds to giggle and talk over Anthony Davis's interview with Kuzma behind him. Didn't bother Anthony Davis one bit, right? And then after that, he comes up to AD's side and he starts dancing with his trophies as they're interviewing Anthony Davis in his first NBA championship and final. Didn't bother Anthony Davis one bit. The point that I'm trying to make is Anthony Davis is shy, right? He's a shy dude. He doesn't necessarily want the spotlight. And that's why this combination works so well from a personality standpoint. AD is fine with LeBron being LeBron, essentially, right? And so it was cool to see, man. I don't know. Look, I know there's people that can't stand LeBron James, can't stand the Laker fans, all that stuff. You're a Heat fan, whatever it is. I don't know how you can hate on, it doesn't matter what team it is. The genuine joy from a team and players winning a championship, it's always fun to watch. Even when it was against my squad last year with the Raptors and how painful that was. It always brings a smile to my face to see dudes, one, that have never won it before, right? And even guys that have, just to see that release, man. It's genuine and it's fun and I enjoy it. Again, it was just different on that stage where it was isolated and it was just a little awkward, right? It was a little awkward. But in today's sports world, we immediately jump to what's next, right? The Lakers probably haven't even flown out of Orlando yet. And it's like, all right, what's next? What's next for this roster, right? There's a lot of questions for the newly crowned champs. I think, like Kyle Kuzma, what exactly is he going to do with his hair now that he's an NBA champion? Like, for real. Like, are we going to get some sort of zebra polka dot stuff? No, I kid. No, but for real, there are a lot of questions with this Laker roster because you remember how it's been designed. A lot of these guys were on 1 year, prove it to me, show me deals. They didn't want to commit to any of these guys. And you got a lot of guys kind of in the twilight of their career. I want to shout out Dwight and Rondo. Rondo, man, that was unaccounted for last night, right? Like, woo-wee. He just came out. But I thought it was dope for them. Rondo obviously getting his second and Dwight his first. But I had just got done talking about these dudes that, here's the thing. Those guys on the end of the bench that I'm talking trash about here, it could have been any guys in the league sitting there. It didn't matter. That's why they're not deserved. That's why they don't deserve it, right? It could have been you could have taken the end of any bench, put them there, and they didn't do nothing but cheerlead, right? So it is what it is. Every team has that. I just thought the Lakers had an abundance of those guys, right? But what was dope for Rondo and Dwight is not only that they got to win towards the end of their career here, but they got to contribute, right? Both of them contributed. And so they can feel like they've earned this. And that was dope to see. But you wonder, like, are they going to bring these guys back? What are they going to do here? Now, I'm operating under the assumption that AD is going to sign long-term here. He's held out. He's done the clutch thing. They've fulfilled their destiny of winning this and doing it for Kobe. And you assume AD is going to lock in long-term here. So now the rest of the roster is really up in the air. All these guys, they could go a number of ways. Call me crazy, but if you ask me, the most important player that they need to retain is Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. KCP, and tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. Was he not the third most important player through this bubble? Like, it wasn't flashy, but if you paid attention and you watched, he was their best perimeter defender. He shot the ball well. He was going to he just made timely plays. He was their third best guy. Now, how much is that saying, considering how much of the load that AD and LeBron carried? I understand that, but I'm just saying, you got all these guys that they could bring back or they could walk away from. I think KCP should be priority one. Now, Kyle Kuzma has 1 year left on his rookie deal, and I understand he picked it up here late in the bubble. He shot the ball well. If I'm the Lakers, I see what I can get for him. I don't think, I've just seen him with too many mental errors. I don't trust his IQ on the court when it matters. And, I understand that he fits because he doesn't need the ball. He cuts well off the ball and all that. But I see what I can get, right, for Kuzma. And then I think the question is, because they're not committed to these guys, how are they going to go about trying to go back-to-back here? Are they going to take the depth approach that they did this season and kind of, you got Green, KCP, forgive me, I don't know what Caruso's contract situation is, but Rondo, Dwight, right? All these guys, they kind of went the depth route. Are they going to try and go get a legit third guy, which would eat up their depth and their cap space? Or are they going to stick to what they've done this season and bring a lot of these guys back? Morris, right? Rondo, KCP, we'll see, man. I think it also depends on who is available. I think the Lakers, the history of LeBron, it's a touchy thing, man, because you know that it's not easy to play with LeBron. You're risking it. It's a risky proposition to bring in a third, quote, star, because what if he just doesn't mesh with AD and LeBron and you're not getting the value you expected and you've committed all that to them? So it's a risky thing. It really depends on who it is. There's a lot of questions, and I think we're going to see a lot of movement from the newly crowned champs. I'll leave you with this, though.
Any artist out there want to be an artist and want to stay a star, don't want to have to worry about the executive producer trying to be all in the video, all on the record, dancing.
Come to the Bay.